Jameis Winston. He still may not be the starter this year, right? And Drew Brees retired, won 7 games with a dude who threw 30 interceptions. They were already loaded. And then Brady shows up, brings his boy Gronk and AB. And they wind up winning the Super Bowl, by the way, in a funky kind of COVID season, right? Where things were a little bit weird. So that's not the Patriot way. That's Tom Brady makes super team, right? That's big name free agents wanting to sign who still have something left. That's a team that's already stacked with talent. Sure, he brought leadership and all that, no doubt, and he brought a high level of play too. But meantime, you look at the Patriots. They had nothing. Brady left because they had no weapons, Chris. Nothing. He's like, I can't take it anymore, right? They had 9 players say we're not playing because of COVID. Most of the defense, which they hung their hat on. They had a quarterback totally different than Brady off a catastrophic injury, a year off, come and play with no preseason, and he got COVID. And still, remember what a good game they gave the Chiefs? Without Cam even until the second half, right? They had wins against good teams last year, more than one. No, they were still doing Patriots things on the low. He just had nothing to work with. I can't say that the Patriots way is not Bill Belichick. Not yet.
Here's why you're wrong, Max. You're talking about all the opt-outs that the Patriots had. We don't know whether that's because of COVID or they just weren't excited to play for Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. I mean, we're talking about the player being the one that's the difference. Tom Brady being the one that's going out there and executing. It seems like there were a lot of players that were in a hurry to get down to Tampa to be with Tom. Antonio Brown being able to find his way there. Rob Gronkowski coming from the WWE to decide he was going to join Tom Brady coming out of retirement. So I look at this situation and I think back to what opened the door for this conversation to happen. Bill Belichick kicking Tom Brady out of New England. It wasn't that Tom Brady demanded a trade. Bill Belichick decided that he was going to move on from Tom Brady. And that's been a part of Bill Belichick's way. That's been a part of the Patriot way. Moving on from a player a year too early rather than a year late. But with Tom Brady, it wasn't about not being able to play anymore. It was about not being supported properly. And that speaks directly to the head coach and Bill Belichick, not surrounding him with the requisite talent that it takes to continue to have sustained success in the twilight of his career. It ain't Tom Brady's fault that Bill Belichick only drafted 1 Pro Bowler since 2013. That's on the head coach. And so while I'm with you...
that's on the GM, who's also the head coach.
Well, exactly, but it's still one and the same when it comes to the Patriot way. That's the same conversation, right? So when we start talking about who's more responsible for it, I will always lean toward the player because the coach can't go out there and execute. I remember when I played in college for Al Groh, Bill Parcells' disciple, former New York Jets head coach, he had a huge sign in his office. He said, coaches with good schemes and no talent coach at unimportant places. For the first time in 20 years, when it comes to the conversation about championships and who's competing for a Super Bowl, the Patriots were. It's a coincidence that Tom Brady left when that took place. Keeping in mind, Tom Brady went down to a team that was 7-9, won a Super Bowl as a wild card.
Yeah, you brought up Parcells. And who was his defensive coordinator, right?
Bill Belichick.
Super Bowl.
Bill Belichick.
And who did Bill Belichick have on that defense?
Lawrence Taylor,
the greatest player who ever did it.
Yep.
And who did Bill Belichick have with the Patriots for 20 years? Tom Brady, the greatest player who ever did it. Of course, even a great coach needs superstar players. I'm not denying that. But do you recall an interception in the Super Bowl that beat Seattle? Malcolm Butler's interception in the Super Bowl? They practiced that. There's footage of Belichick having Butler practice that. Then the next year, everyone gets on because, of course, they're in the Super Bowl again, right? And why isn't Malcolm Butler playing? I don't know. It seemed to me like Belichick was goading them, daring them. Beat us with Nick Foles throwing the ball. Again, beat us with Nick, and he did. But Belichick will say, no, you ain't going to beat me with your best thing. At best, you're going to beat me with your second best thing, maybe your third. When people say, you know, this guy is playing chess, everyone else is playing checkers. You're all playing checkers, he's playing chess. Usually, I don't know. I don't believe that there's a method to the madness. Belichick is playing chess. Now, maybe he outsmarted himself with Brady. I would agree with that because in all of human history, no one has ever been great at 42 at quarterback ever. And Tom Brady is entering age 44 season. So he's not just breaking the record, he's shattering it. But it was reasonable at the time to think, I need a succession plan. I'm not going to be able to ride this dude forever. And the Patriots were no laughingstock last year. After everything I said, they had two plays, a goal line stand where, look, a great linebacker makes a play on Cam in Seattle, and they don't win that game. And Cam gets stripped in the red zone against Buffalo, and they don't win that game. From a 9-7 season, two plays with no one on the team.
But Max,
he didn't have any
They
talent.
didn't make those plays. They didn't make those plays. So that's irrelevant as the conversation that we're having. It doesn't have any bearing on it. When you start talking about what Bill Belichick did without Tom Brady, like I don't think you can sit here and say that Bill Belichick is more responsible for the success those guys had over the course of the last 20 years. You wanted to give me the history lesson of Super Bowl 49. Well, let me take you back to Super Bowl 36. Was it Bill Belichick out there making the throws that went to engineer that game-winning drive where Adam Vinatieri kicked that field goal? No, it was Tom Brady making those plays. Was it Bill Belichick the one that orchestrated the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history against the Falcons? No, it was Tom Brady leading that team in regulation.
Those are two very different players. The Brady who won the first time and the Brady against the Falcons are two different players. Brady became an incredibly great player, but earlier on, that was even when you talk about no huddle, that's Belichick. Oh, this is working. Let's do that. He was doing it more than anyone else. When you talk about Brady with Vinatieri, really what were those teams about? Defense. Brady gets you in field goal position, right? Get you in field goal range and have a great field goal kicker win the game for you. Like, let's be honest, that's Belichick as much as Brady.
I don't know if you can say the 2-minute drills or end-the-game situations is on Belichick. He might have worked with that guy in practice, but it's the player that's got to go out there and look at the defense, go through his progression, and then actually make the throws. It's the player. That's why he deserves more responsibility for it. It's the player that ultimately leads the team to success more so than the head coach.
Well, look. We're talking about is the Patriot way Brady or Belichick? And I admit it's undecided, and right now Brady looks good. But I'm not willing to move off of Belichick yet because, yes, the player, of course, has to execute. But who puts you in a position to win in the first place? The Patriots. We had Louis Riddick on the show yesterday. They're going to make the playoffs. They missed a 500 season by a hair where every single thing went wrong. Now, in that context, will Belichick win the Super Bowl without a great quarterback? No, probably not, right? He missed the Super Bowl. He missed the playoffs with Matt Castle, but they won 11 games that year, 10 with Matt Castle. With Matt Castle, they won 10 games, 11 overall.
Did they go to the playoffs?
They didn't. I'm not saying the quarterback doesn't matter. I'm saying the position. Now, Tom Brady won the Super Bowl without Belichick. He was on a super team last year. They were stacked.
It's still a team that went 7-9 the year prior. So, I mean, you see how much Brady makes a difference, not just from him being a great quarterback, but him changing the culture. And a lot of the Patriot way, a lot of the mystique around that has been about the culture. Well, guess what? Tom Brady is the one that allows Bill Belichick to institute the culture. One of the famous stories about Bill Belichick is being able to address Tom Brady in the first team meeting of every season. You know why? Because if Tom Brady can be disciplined, can be reprimanded by Bill Belichick, then Belichick can do it to every other player. So what I'm saying is,
Arians did the same thing to Brady kind of this season. Remember in the press?
Here's what I'm saying. If Brady doesn't buy into it, then Bill Belichick doesn't have the ability to implement his program.
No
have
doubt.
That culture where they have sustained success. It has to be the player.
Every great head coach needs a surrogate on the team. Popovich needed Tim Duncan. Joe Torre needed Derek Jeter. And obviously, Belichick needed Tom Brady. You need to have that surrogate on the field of play. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying